The girl looks with huge blue words and asks if the young man wants to kill her. Seeing the bewildered look of the young man, the girl asks that it be painless. The young man stands respectfully bent at the girl's bedside and does not know how to respond to her strange words. The young man whispers that, as a faithful servant of Lady Selina, he cannot do such a thing. The girl clearly knows that this devoted servant will attack her with magic in the future. Selina asks the young man to give up magic because it will be better for him. The young man does not understand anything in her words. A few days ago, this girl woke up in the world described in the book Crown of Dawn. Erin thought this book was very lousy, but her sick sister was delighted with it, and the girl had to read it out loud more than once. Erin was an orphan who was adopted by a childless couple, but they soon had a child of their own. Unfortunately, the girl was born with a fatal, incurable disease, and her parents blamed Erin for all the misfortunes. The girl was poorly fed, abused, and beaten. The entire life of the older sister had to be completely devoted to the younger one. What Erin should study, what job she should find, all of this was decided for her sister's sake. All of this was not her. Sometimes Erin began to hate her sister, but when she saw her lying in a hospital bed, the hatred disappeared by itself. The sisters' relationship was very complex. They both hated and relied on each other. And then one day, the younger sister left this world. She was not yet 12 years old. The need for Erin disappeared, and it didn't take long for the adoptive parents to kick the girl out of the house. Finding herself on the side of the road, the girl's desire to live completely dried up. Erin climbed one of the abandoned high-rise buildings and, in the pouring rain, walked to the very edge of the roof. The girl is too tired and doesn't want to remember anything. She doesn't have the strength to take care of herself, and she doesn't want to struggle with difficulties anymore. All that remained in the girl's memory from her sister was the image of a sick, completely weakened figure. Erin doesn't understand why she only remembers this image if her sister was everything the girl lived for. The girl is crying and cannot understand why her sister did not get better, at least for a moment, for her sake. The girl thinks that nothing matters now because this is the end. She takes a step forward and falls off the roof, opening my eyes. Erin doesn't understand why death turned out to be so pleasant. She feels as if she was reborn in a new world. For some reason, it is too light around, and there seems to be some vague movement around. Suddenly, a girl appears next to Erin and screams deafeningly loudly that Mistress Selina has woken up. Some people appear at the girl's bedside and say that she, Selina, fell down the stairs 4 days ago and only woke up now. Erin doesn't understand where she is and who these people are who are calling her by someone else's name. Trying to ask a question, the girl realizes with horror that she cannot speak. Only a quiet wheeze comes out of her throat. The nervous doctor asks everyone to calm down. The lady lay there for several days without getting up, which may be why it's difficult for her to speak now. Suddenly, the girl clearly remembers that the handsome young man, Aaron Howitt, Selina's older brother, remembers Erin and Selina's parents, Duke and Duchess Howitt. Suddenly, the girl realizes that after committing suicide, she did not die, but woke up in the body of Selina Howitt. Left alone, the heroine tries to comprehend everything that is happening and understand where Selina herself has gone in this case. Suddenly, the maids come into the girl's room and, deftly arranging many plates, report that they have brought dinner to the lady. The girl feels brutally hungry and eats the food with pleasure, reasoning that the dishes served are not very similar to medicinal ones. A few days later, the girl's voice returned. Her parents, who constantly visit their daughter, are sincerely happy that she is recovering. Erin cannot fully accept what is happening and thinks that it is quite unpleasant to call strangers mom and dad. Suddenly, the girl asks the Duke and Duchess where they are and who she is. The woman says that they are the Duke and Duchess of Howitt. The young man is their son Aaron, and the girl herself is their daughter Selina. The parents ask if Selina remembers Lucas and the holy maiden Ariel. The girl says that these are probably their servants. The girl realizes that she read about all these people in a stupid book that their sister liked so much. In the book, the main villain was indeed named Selina. According to the plot, the young man from the strange dream was a devoted servant of the girl. The boy was a street orphan whom little Selina brought home out of pity. She subsequently made him her servant and used him as a slave for many things. The young man was not really devoted to her, Assessing the situation, he simply went with the flow, and in the end, he would be the first to betray the heroine and try to kill her. That same servant is constantly next to the girl, trying in every possible way to serve. The new Selena, knowing the plot of the book, is afraid of the young man and asks him to leave her alone. Left alone, the girl assesses the situation. She cannot believe that she has become Duchess Selena from the book. Book Selena was a real villain and a greedy woman who wanted to get everything she didn't have. The girl really wanted to get the dukedom, which Aaron was supposed to inherit. Selena did not have enough talent to satisfy all her desires. The girl studied day and night, but it did not bring the desired result. Aaron, unlike his sister, was an outstanding student. And in everything else, his brother was also superior to Selena, which only made her anger grow. It didn't take long for the villainous Selena to take action. Aaron was in love with the beautiful holy maiden Ariel, and the young people were getting married. Marriage would strengthen Aaron's position as heir, so Selena created all sorts of obstacles to thwart their plans. Ariel's allies learned of the villain's evil plans and ultimately imprisoned her. Selena failed to get what she wanted and became distraught. At the age of 23, the girl dies in captivity and loneliness. Aaron is horrified by the terrible fate that awaits her in Selena's body. The girl plunges into apathy. He does not want to fight or change anything. He will simply live until he dies. Aaron doesn't understand why, instead of death, God moved her into the body of a book character. She decides that all this is too troublesome and falls into sleep. In the dream, Aaron remembers as if in reality that she did not shed a tear when her sister died. In the last moments before her death, Selena bitterly repents of what she did. She prays to God for help because she does not want to die all alone. Perhaps at that moment something happened that connected the souls of the two girls with an invisible thread. And at the last moment of Selena's life, the spirit of Aaron, who decided to die, appears before her. Aaron really feels sorry for Selena. No one deserves such a terrible death. Two lonely souls are now connected. When Selena was on the edge, she desperately asked for someone to stand up for her. The villainess wanted to turn back time and have time, like Aaron, to commit suicide before she was imprisoned alone. And therefore Aaron now lives in her body. After that strange dream, the new Selena decides to do everything to fulfill the desire of the former owner of the body. First, she needs to get out of bed. Whatever Selena decides to do, she is surrounded by maids everywhere, fulfilling her slightest desires. Lying in the garden, the girl does not understand why there are so many servants. Having eaten to her fill, the girl is no longer so determined to fulfill her promises. Enjoying the good weather, birdsong, and delicious food, Selena gradually begins to fall asleep. Suddenly, the girl wakes up from an incomprehensible noise coming from nearby. Deciding to see what's going on, Selena quietly makes her way through the bushes, trying to remain unnoticed. On the lawn, sweating profusely, a stunningly handsome man is practicing with a sword. The man swings his sword again and again, cutting through the air. Selena watches the man dreamily, deciding not to reveal her presence for a while. Suddenly, the girl notices that her long hair is very tangled in the branches of a bush. The Duchess struggles to untangle her hair, but realizes with despair that she cannot do it without outside help. The man suddenly hears a woman's voice calling out to him from behind the bushes. The hero, constantly ready for danger, became alert, and having prepared his sword, moved towards the voice. In the bushes, the man sees Selena lying on the ground, who embarrassedly admits that it was she who called him. The hero looms over the Duchess at full height and does not believe in the reality of what is happening. At this time, Selena's servant is sitting on the terrace of the castle and eating sweets, although by order of his parents, he should not have left the girl alone. Suddenly, the young man wonders why the lady decided to get rid of him and hopes that nothing unexpected will happen to her. The man bows before the girl and asks for forgiveness that there has been no news from him for a long time. Selena, realizing the absurdity of the situation, distantly asks to help her untangle her too thin hair. Suddenly, the man begins to laugh uncontrollably, unable to stop. Selena carefully examines the laughing man and realizes that he knows him. This man is an elite horseman of the Howite family, but the girl can't remember his name. Knowing what happened to Selena and seeing her confusion, the man says his name is Lucas. With one deft and strong movement, Sir Lucas pulls the girl's hair out of the branches and looks at her. This year, Selina turned only 19 years old, but she is already quite famous for her villainous actions. Everyone in the Howat family is good-natured and decent people, and only the girl is the only one who is hunting so hard for the inheritance. Despite the fact that Aaron inherits everything by seniority, the girl insisted that she was the rightful heir. Selina continued to pursue the holy maiden Ariel. If the wedding took place, it would secure Aaron's right to inherit the throne. Until a certain point, this was not a big problem. Many other dukes had heard about Selina's bad behavior. Lucas is also aware of everything. Everyone is silent because Ariel does not want to attract the attention of gossips. According to the knight, Selina is completely unsuitable for the role of Duchess. Lucas notices that the girl looks surprisingly calm today. The man thinks that before she lost her memory, the Duchess would have already screamed and demanded that all these bushes be burned to the ground. With regret, Lucas thinks that it would be better if Selina's memory did not return at all. The girl carefully examines the man's face and thanks him for the help provided. Selina remembers that Lucas is the one who fell in love with Ariel in the story. In winter, on Selina's 19th birthday, Ariel was waiting for Aaron and fell into the villain's trap, faced a terrible cold. But Lucas saved her. Aaron stood up for his sister. Because of this, Ariel broke off the engagement, and after some time fell in love with Lucas. But feelings had not yet flared up. The girl thinks that she still has time to fix something and change the knight's attitude towards Selina. The girl leans over to Lord Lucas and quietly says that if he likes her, then they may well become friends. The heroine thinks that if the honorable and distinguished equestrian of the ducal family mourns at her funeral, then she has completely coped with the task. Now the girl needs to make every effort to make friends with the Lord, and then he will come to her funeral. After thinking for a second, the knight says that he is very sorry, but they cannot become friends. Selina, realizing that all her attempts are leading nowhere, sadly says that nothing can be done about it. Getting ready to leave, the girl turns around and says that in any case, she will continue to want this. Little Erin never had friends. Her parents did not allow her to make them. The girl had to devote all her time to caring for her sister. Erin was always told that if she wanted a mom and dad, she had to do what they said, or she would be kicked out of the family. The girl sadly realizes that in her mind, she still calls those people her parents. Selina heads towards the house and does not understand how she had the courage to ask Sir Lucas to become her friend. As a child, Erin often played computer games secretly from her parents. There was one game that was popular among the girls' classmates, which they constantly discussed. Erin didn't know anything about it, but she started playing it with enthusiasm and immediately encountered a powerful monster. From the first attack of the monster, Erin's character was killed. The girl silently turned off the computer and never played this game again. Going up to the chapel, Selina thinks that now she has a similar feeling, as if she has completely cooled down to everything. The girl gives up in despair and asks the real Selina for forgiveness for not being able to fulfill her request. Erin is sure that she won't be able to make people really mourn at Selina's funeral. The girl reasons that in her past life she couldn't cope with anything, and in this life she won't be able to cope with anything. There's at least one thing Erin can do for Selina: die before she's left all alone. Lost in her desperate thoughts, the girl makes a decision and approaches the very edge. The real Selina is a member of the ducal family, and at least now she is cared for and loved. These people have not yet turned their backs on her and will sincerely grieve for their daughter and sister. This time the decision is also quite difficult, but she sees no other way out. After standing a little longer, the girl makes up her mind and again takes the last step into the abyss, choosing death. Lord Lucas slowly walks along the path. The thoughts that something is clearly wrong with the Duchess haunt him. The knight reasons that memory loss may explain the changes in her behavior, and besides, she has not left her room for several days. Lucas wonders why the villainous Selina suddenly wanted to be friends with him. The man knows the girl's character well. Such behavior is not at all in her style, and somehow she reacted too carelessly to his refusal. Passing by a tall bell tower, Lucas glances at it and notices some strange movement at the top. The knight goes further and thinks that he has a bad feeling. It seems to him that he is missing something important. Suddenly, Lucas realizes that Selena looked indifferent and lifeless and walked right towards the bell tower. The man suddenly jumps up and rushes up the stairs as fast as he can. Seeing Selena at the very edge, who is ready to take her last step, Lucas, by some miracle, manages to grab the girl's hand at the very last moment. With all his might, the knight pulls Selena's hand and, pressing her tightly to himself, pulls her away from the edge of the bell tower. The man is so amazed by Selena's act that, sensing her closeness, he abruptly lets go of the girl, and she falls to the floor. Selena looks at the Lord with an indifferent gaze and asks why he was following her. Suddenly, Lucas realizes exactly what Selena was going to do, and if he was even a minute late, she would no longer be alive. The man kneels down and quietly asks the girl if she decided to jump because he refused her friendship. The girl is silent, lost in her thoughts, but Lucas needs to hear the answer. Selena, looking at the man, thinks that he is a really good guy. The girl reflects that by her action, she can subject the knight to a serious feeling of guilt for contributing to her suicide. Realizing that she cannot place all the blame on the man, Selena definitely states that he is not to blame for what happened. Lucas asks in bewilderment why she decided to jump off the roof. Selena understands that Lucas won't just leave her alone and will still have to answer something. The girl, citing memory loss, asks if they were so close before that they are now talking about such topics. Selena says that her desire to jump off the roof immediately after their conversation is just a misunderstanding and asks the man to leave. Lucas is stunned by the girl's behavior, afraid that she will try again as soon as he leaves. The girl answers ironically that trying to take her own life twice in a day is too much even for her. Selena clearly understands that deciding to die is the most difficult decision a person can make. Noticeably limping after an unexpected fall to the floor, the girl approaches the stairs and realizes that it will be very difficult to go down. Suddenly, Lucas, noticing the girl's problem, picks her up in his arms, intending to help at least with this. Descending the stairs with Selena in his arms, the man asks the girl not to climb this bell tower again. Having delivered the Duchess to her chambers, Lucas regretfully tells the girl's parents about what happened, who are simply horrified by what happened. Suddenly, Duke Howitt becomes ill and almost falls, caught in time by Lucas and his son. The upset father holds his heart, but assures the young men that he will be okay. The Duke approaches Selena's bed. He is in despair that his only daughter could take such a step. The Duchess's servant stands under the door and listens with interest to what is happening. The doctor asks the girl who has recovered from sleep what is bothering her. Realizing that Selena has no complaints about her physical health, he gently asks why the girl decided to jump from the roof. Not knowing how to explain to the doctor the true reason for her action, the girl simply replies that everything is too troublesome. Having come out to the girl's concerned parents, the doctor states that the girl's physical health is in perfect order. The man continues that the girl looks worried, and perhaps she needs a change of scenery. Discussing their daughter's condition with the Dukes, the doctor says that stress and fatigue have greatly affected the girl. Memory loss combined with emotional insufficiency accumulated inside the girl. All that people close to Selena can do is give her time to recover and, if possible, not leave her alone. Duke Howitt turns to Lucas and asks him to look after Selena. Aaron has no face. He sincerely loves his sister and is having a hard time with what happened to her. Aaron, like his father, asks Lucas to do everything possible to keep Selena safe. The young man feels guilty and believes that he is partly to blame for what happened to Selena. Lucas recalls that at one time the Duke and Duchess treated the boy, the same age as Aaron, as a son, and gave the boy a room in the castle. Looking at the young Duke, Lucas thinks that he is his sworn brother, more than just a friend, so he knows how dear his sister is to Aaron. But despite her brother's feelings, Selena truly hates the young man. Lucas feels responsible for the Duke family, which has become truly dear to him, so he must help them and be there for them. Selena's servant is always nearby, never leaving the girl alone. The girl constantly asks him to leave. She does not yet understand how to behave with the young man, but the butler says that by order of her parents, he is forbidden to leave the girl alone. Selena understands that because of yesterday's action, her problems have only increased. The girl is really afraid that Aiden will kill her while she sleeps. Selena says with irritation that apparently the young man does not understand the meaning of the word go away. Angrily, the girl notices that Aiden's legs must already be numb from constant standing and tells him to sit down somewhere. Aiden, not understanding what is happening to his mistress, answers in fear that he is not tired at all. Selena explodes, saying that unlike him, she is tired of being constantly stared at. Turning to the wall, Selena realizes that this world is terribly boring. There are no interesting books, no internet, and to listen to music, you need to call an orchestra into the room. Suddenly, the girls seem to perk up and decide that if everyone is developing a plan to save her, then she needs to come up with a plan to die. Death should not be some kind of pitiful death. It should be something that she and the real Selena will like. Aiden looks sadly at the sleeping mistress. What happened that she changed her attitude towards him so dramatically? The next morning, despite the beautiful weather, Selena is again gloomy and thinks that the reality around her is terrible. The girl notices that, as before, Aiden is still sitting in a chair not far from her bed. Lucas visits the girl's room every day as if it were his own home, which also greatly irritates the Duchess. Suddenly, Selena sits up on the bed and declares that she wants to go outside. Both men immediately announce that they will go with her. The girl walks through the park, feeling with her back that the escorts do not take a step away from her. Selena thought that if she behaved quietly, everyone would leave her alone. But 5 days passed, and there was no change. During these 5 days, the parents came to their daughter's room every day and cried. Suddenly, Selena meets Aaron, who also went for a walk. The girl knows that her brother sincerely worries about her, but knowing the character of the real Selena, she prefers not to say anything. During these 5 days, Aaron tried to stay out of sight of the girl so as not to disturb her. Suddenly, Selena invites her brother to take a walk with her in the garden. Aaron, although surprised, happily agrees. Selena turns to those accompanying her and says that she and her brother will go further. Seeing the men's indecisiveness, Aaron says that he will look after his sister and they can return to the castle. The girl wonders how her brother is feeling because he looks tired. Aaron assures Selena that he is fine and wonders if she has regained her memory. The sister says that her memory is slowly starting to return. The girl clearly remembered many moments. Stopping abruptly, Selena says that she remembers well her hatred of her brother. Completely unexpected for Aaron, Selena asks him for forgiveness for having such feelings for her brother. Aaron is stunned. He is so confused that he cannot utter a word. The girl humbly bows before the young man and asks for forgiveness for all the bad things she did to him before. Aaron honestly admits that all this is too sudden for him. It's so unlike Selena. The young man accepts his sister's apology and happily thanks her. Selena goes further and asks her brother how long Aiden and Lucas will keep an eye on her. The brother honestly answers that until the girl fully recovers, she will have to endure such attention. Selena tells Aaron that she has an unexpected request for him. The Duke and Duchess of Howite are shocked after Aaron tells them of Selena's desire to meet the holy maiden Ariel. The parents doubt that this is a good idea after everything Selena has done, even despite the memory loss. But the son tells how sincerely his sister apologized to him and is sure that everything will be fine. In addition, although partially, Selena's memory is gradually returning. The parents eventually agree, but ask Aaron to be present at the meeting. In the greenhouse, Selena and the maiden Ariel drink tea in a calm atmosphere. Ariel Frankrit, the holy maiden of the Empire, Aaron's lover, really looks like a heroine in real life. Selena notices that the brother and the maiden look very harmonious together. They even have similar faces. Probably this is fate. Instead of making the brother a hero, the author of the novel makes the heroine fall in love with his best friend. Why is everything so unfair? The girl understands that young people, given their past, are very uncomfortable in her presence. Suddenly, the Duchess stands up, bows, and apologizes from the bottom of her heart for all her terrible actions. Virgo Ariel is simply shocked that the Duchess bows before her and asks the girl to quickly raise her head. Selena promises that she will never do anything like that again, and she also blesses the couple. The Duchess admits that after her brush with death, she began to think about human life in a new way. Ariel is embarrassed by the girl's words, looks with fear at her fiancé, who is looking at her confidently, and thanks Selena. At this time in the castle, the head butler sympathetically asks Aiden how much he gets from his mistress. The guy admits that after the tragedy and loss of memory, Lady Selena seemed to become a different person. One of the maids is perplexed how it is possible to change so much just by losing her memory. Maybe the lady has a psychological disorder. Aiden realizes that this could very well be because the mistress is acting very strange. Selena lies on the bed and thinks about the fact that her brother's wedding will take place very soon. In the novel, the couple broke up without getting married, but the girl hopes that after an apology, the plot will change and the couple will still get married. Selena recalls that after tea and a frank conversation, both houses agreed on the wedding day. Suddenly, Lucas comes into the room and asks with enthusiasm whether the Duchess really wants to spend such a wonderful day in bed. The girl replies sarcastically that she is safest in bed. Lucas notes that Selena needs to be in the sun more often. The girl retorts that if you open the curtains, then you can sunbathe in bed. Suddenly, Sir Lucas explodes and begins to scream loudly in an inhuman voice. Just as unexpectedly, the Lord falls silent and calmly asks him to forgive him for the outburst. He is really worried about the Duchess's health. Selena remembers the book. Luas is an experienced deceiver. In public, he pretends to be a good-natured gentleman, but in reality, he is very calculating. The girl understands that if she doesn't get up, this performance won't end. She's already seen enough. Selena realizes with horror that due to the many days spent in bed, her legs simply cannot support her, but she cannot ask for help from the Lord. The girl calls out to her servant and asks him to help her. The Duchess hurried to get up without waiting for Aiden and fell to the floor. Aiden rushes to the mistress's aid, carefully lifts her up and asks if everything is okay. The girl looks at the young man and thinks that he is also an actor. He also does not believe that he sincerely worries about her. The girl looks intently at the servant and suddenly asks what his name is. Selena has achieved her goal. The young man feels completely confused and anxious. The company goes out into the garden. Both young men carefully support the girl's hands. Suddenly, it occurs to the Duchess that both guys walking next to her are incredibly handsome. Lucas has silver hair and purple eyes, and also perfect facial features. He looks like Apollo. Men were described as handsome in the novel, and now the girl could see this for herself. Aiden is a green-eyed blonde whose hair is so golden it's annoying. But Selena noticed that lately Aiden often looks upset and gloomy. In fact, all this time the servant is thinking that his mistress has even forgotten his name. The company leisurely strolls through the garden. Sir Lucas notices that the Duchess needs more physical activity. Aaron's wedding is coming soon, and if the lady shows up so pale, it will make the guests worry. Selena indifferently replies that she will start going out for walks more often. The knight does not stop there and declares that the Duchess should eat while sitting at the table and not lying in bed. Selena abruptly pulls her hand away and tells Lucas that his work is finished. She will soon return to her room. With irritation, the girl advises Lucas to finish his performance. She notices everything and is not very pleased. Selena turns around and heads back to her room, arm in arm with Aiden. Lucas thinks with a grin that having lost her memory, the girl has changed a lot, and her penetrating gaze has become even sharper than before. The Lord understands that he is so curious about what is happening that even if he had not been asked, he would still continue to follow Selena. Sitting in the greenhouse over tea, the Duchess addresses her servant. The girl asks why he is so nervous that he doesn't even eat. Aiden, not knowing that all the emotions are written on his face, tries to deny everything and convince his mistress that everything is fine with him. Selena calmly reports that from now on she decides to walk and eat only in the company of the young man because she is disgusted by the rest. The young man is confused and says that, unlike Lord Lucas, he does not have the strength to protect the Duchess if something happens. Selena deadpans that Aiden can always use magic. The girl sees everything clearly on the young man's face and understands that she has said too much. Aiden falsely says he doesn't know what he's talking about. Changing the topic, Selena pushes the young man a piece of strawberry cake and offers him something to eat because he loves sweets so much. The young man, confused, asks the girl for permission to ask her a question. Aiden asks how the lady knows that he likes sweets if he doesn't even remember his name. Selena calmly replies that she noticed how the servants in the house, whom Aiden cares about so much, bring him cakes every time something happens. It was written in the book that the unfortunate servant was afraid that he would be thrown out into the cold again and clung to the house of the dukes with all his might. Every time the lady mocked him, the servants of the ducal house took pity on him. High-quality treats from the table of aristocrats were shared with the young man. The girl tries a piece of chocolate cake and suddenly freezes with a strange expression on her face. The young man fearfully asks his mistress what is the matter. Selina remembers that she tried the cake once in her life when she visited her sister in the hospital, and she shared the cake. The girl ate the cake not because she liked it, but because her sister liked it. The girl sadly realizes that in her entire short real life, she never became herself, with her own tastes and habits. Aiden is alarmed. He asks again and again what happened to the lady. She turned so pale. Suddenly, Selina says in a low voice that she hates chocolate cakes. The young man immediately rushes to the mistress to take the hated cake from her. The young man silently puts his piece of strawberry cake closer to the girl and takes the chocolate one. The servant looks at his mistress with sadness. He does not understand why her mood changes so often. Sometimes she looks at him so strangely. Aiden thinks that since the mistress woke up, she seems to have left this world. She looks like a grieving child. The Duchess, having tasted the strawberry cake, says that it is the most delicious she has ever tasted. Aiden quietly says that if they bring his mistress cakes that she doesn't want to eat, she should call him. He will gladly help her out. The maid opens the curtains, letting in bright sunlight, and loudly says that it's time for the lady to wake up. The girl opens her eyes with difficulty. Getting up at 6 in the morning was not part of her plans. But the maid says that today is Aaron's wedding day, and they have very little time. Selina, lying in the bath, idly reflects that it shouldn't take much time to get ready. After several hours of endless procedures, the Duchess realizes that she was very mistaken about this. The newlyweds decided to hold the wedding ceremony not in the imperial palace, but in the halls of the ducal estate, which caused quite a lot of trouble for everyone. Aiden enters the room out of breath and says that he brought forgotten jewelry. The Duchess sits in a chair in a half-open robe and is actively preparing for the ceremony. Aiden looks at his mistress and cannot look away. Then the maid runs up to the servant and says that the jewelry was delivered just in time. Being the mistress's servant, Aiden entered the mistress's chambers more than once, but never saw her change clothes. This greatly embarrassed the young man. Selina is already exhausted, and the maids are still not far behind and ask to choose a dress. The girl, without looking, chooses the one on the left. Now the maids insist on choosing shoes. The Duchess again chooses the ones on the left without looking. This is really tiring. The girl has never dressed up like this before, and of course she doesn't know how to choose from the abundance of everything. Finally, the girl looks at herself in the mirror and does not recognize this beautiful stranger. Selina thinks that she will never get used to someone else's face, but at the same time, her own face has been completely erased from memory. Suddenly, the girl wonders what the real Selina's face usually looked like. The girl tries to smile mysteriously, but the grimace that appears scares even herself. Judging by the reaction of the maids, you shouldn't grimace when there are so many people around. Suddenly, Lord Lucas appears in the room completely silently and unnoticed. Selina notes displeasedly that, in fact, in decent houses it is customary to knock before entering. The Duchess remembers that on her last walk, she tried to tell Lucas that she did not need him to accompany her to the wedding. But the knight stubbornly replied that, despite her words and hints, he wanted to be with her. The girl said that she did not want this, but in response she heard that she had no choice. Selina thinks that at least Lucas has stopped pretending to be a gentleman. Every time during a walk, he appears out of nowhere and behaves obnoxiously intrusive. Finally, the maid says that the mistress is completely ready to go out. Selina looks at herself in the mirror. There's nothing to complain about. The reflection is truly perfect. The girl, pleased with her appearance, sincerely thanks the maids for their efforts. The girls leave the Duchess's chambers in bewilderment, quietly discussing that this is the first time the lady has praised and thanked them. Selina sarcastically asks Lucas why he came, because it's obvious that she won't be going out today. The Lord politely replies that he came without warning and asks permission to accompany his lady at the wedding. Selina coldly reveals that she doesn't need Lucas to accompany her. She was going to ask Aiden for it. Lucas says that Aiden is just a servant, and if the mistress goes only with him, it will make a bad impression on the public. Selina angrily understands what social inequality means. Aiden is always left behind on walks. Sometimes during breaks, the young man simply watches everything, standing outside the window. And sometimes he goes away completely so as not to interfere or disturb the masters. And this time, the young man is also not allowed to go where the aristocrats gather. The girl angrily says that treating people of lesser birth as trash is simply unacceptable. Suddenly, Selena understands the awkwardness of the situation and, trying to correct it, says that she is not talking about Lucas, but about aristocrats. Sir Lucas replies that he and the Duchess herself are aristocrats, in case she has forgotten. Selena coldly says that if Lucas is done with his business, he can leave. The girl says that she still has things to do before the wedding, and if it's not difficult for the night, then he could call Aiden. Lucas throws the door open and informs them that this is not necessary, since Aiden has been standing outside the door the whole time. The Duchess's words deeply affected Aiden. As a child, he remembered very well what it was like to feel like trash. Kindness, warmth, hope for street children were just words from a children's fairy tale. The lady who appeared before the boy was like a ray of light. That year, the winter was so severe that many children simply froze to death. Squeezing the outstretched hand, Aiden hoped that he could live a little longer. The tramp hoped that this beautiful girl would take him into a world similar to a children's fairy tale, but the illusion was destroyed in an instant. The boy was destined to become the mistress's personal servant. In reality, he served only as a lightning rod for her anger. At the first meeting, the girl so sincerely extended her hand to him, and then began to say that he should obey only her. Growing up, young Aaron always showed his best side as the heir to the ducal family. Selena, captivated by feelings of envy, could no longer hide her cruel character. The girl always blamed Aiden for all her failures, calling him useless. In a rage, Selena shouted that she had sheltered the boy in spite of everything, and he simply had to be useful to her in some way. The boy tried his best. He begged the lady to tell him what to do, and he would do everything. One day, Selena ordered Aiden to find out what textbooks Aaron would study from, steal the books, and bring them to her, in the hope that it would help her perform better during a family dinner. Aiden sincerely does not understand how he can do this without incurring the wrath of the entire ducal family. The girl pushes the guy with all her might and screams that she better not pick up this damn scum. The girl continues to rage, screaming that Aiden is just trash, who is not even able to serve tea. It was humiliating and unbearable for the boy to endure insults and beatings day after day. But Aiden understood that if it weren't for the mistress, he would have long been lying by the side of the road, frozen to death. The boy persuades himself to endure and be glad that he has a bed, and the winter winds will not touch him. At the age of 17, the young man suddenly thought that his current life was not much different from the times when he was begging on the street. That day, it became known that Mr. Aaron would graduate from the academy as the best student, and the lady, in a fit of anger, tore the room to pieces. Suddenly, a large and heavy jewelry box flies at Aiden's head. The box breaks the young man's head, but at first he does not even notice how blood is flowing down his face. Selena is horrified to see the blood. Aiden convinces him that everything is fine with him, but the mistress does not calm down. The young man says that he will now send someone else and runs away from the room. Once in his room, Aiden realizes that something has broken in him. He is filled with an insatiable desire to kill his mistress. The young man was overcome with unbearable rage for all the humiliations that he had endured for so many years. Suddenly, Aiden began to cry along with his anger, and for the first time in his entire life he cried. The young man felt a bitter feeling that he had been betrayed, although he understood how stupid it was. Suddenly, a magical glow appeared around the servant, at first imperceptibly, and then growing brighter. The young man looked in surprise at the magic ball, which obeyed the slightest movement of his hand. Aiden realizes that his desperate cry from the soul has suddenly turned into magic. The guy wonders if the blood of magicians flows in his veins, then whether he should use this power against his mistress. Aiden wonders with interest what Selena's reaction will be to the fact that her useless servant has magical powers. Reason takes precedence over emotions, and the guy decides to keep his ability to use a magical gift a secret for now. The young man is thinking about visiting the wizard's tower in the hope that he will be accepted there. Aiden thinks that if he acts recklessly, he could be kicked out of the ducal house, so he decides to act pragmatically. The guy decides to hide his magical power and just endure it further, as he has done up to this point. After the incident, the mistress's attitude became somewhat softer, but this made the young man's heart heavy. Aiden remembers Selena's words about not treating people like trash. Watching the girl, the guy thinks that even though she has lost her memory, it's simply funny to hear such words from her. She's probably up to something. Arriving at her brother, Selena again falls on her knees in front of him, which makes Aaron feel awkward. The Duchess sincerely asks for forgiveness. She is sure that she will have to atone for all her past actions for a long time. Selena decided to come early and congratulate her brother on such an important event before the ceremony began. Aaron is moved to tears. He loves his sister, and the changes that have occurred in her resonate in his soul. Aiden wonders what the lady was up to. First she went to Lady Ariel. Now she has come to her brother. Heading to the Duke's chambers, Selena sadly thinks that their sincere love and care is intended for the real Selena, and not for her. What a shock it will be for the parents to find out that the girl is not their daughter, but a stranger who borrowed her body. Selena knocks on the door, thinking that no matter how much she wants to avoid the meeting, she must fulfill her duty to them. The mother who opens the door hugs the girl tightly. She is so glad that Selena finally visited them. The father is glad that his daughter decided to congratulate them before the ceremony. This is the best day of their lives. The girl is very touched by gestures of friendliness and warm words of greeting. She so wanted to receive all this in a past life. Selena tells herself that this couple wants to see not her, but their daughter. And although this is the girl's new life, their love does not belong to her. The girl rushes into her mother's arms and sincerely thanks her parents for taking care of her. The mother understands with tenderness that on the eve of her brother's wedding, the youngest daughter has finally matured too. The girl is amazed at how wonderful this family is and wonders with bewilderment what Selena was missing so much that she ruined everything. Walking down the corridor, the Duchess turns to Aiden and suddenly asks if it is true that she first met him beaten on a dark road. Aiden doesn't quite understand what these questions are about, but he is glad that the mistress's memory is returning. Suddenly, Selena quietly says that she once threw a box at him, and the young man began to bleed. Realizing all the horrors that his predecessor did, the girl realizes with despair that she does not belong here. Selena turns sharply and rushes forward. Aiden doesn't have time to say a word. Running up to the stairs, the girl thinks that she does not want to hold on to vain hopes in a world to which she will not get used. Aiden tried to catch up with the mistress, but ran up to the stairs too late. Realizing that Selena has decided to repeat her attempt to die again, the young man screams in an attempt to stop her. The guy rushes after him with all his might, trying to grab the girl's hand. As Selena falls down, she is surprised to notice that despite Aiden's future attempts to kill her, he now looks terribly saddened. The girl has accepted her fate, but instead of being hit, she feels a strange feeling of floating. Aiden, using his secret magical power, keeps the girl from falling. Having picked up the Duchess in his arms, the guy carefully lowers her to the floor. The young man wants to ask if everything is okay with the mistress, but she does not let him finish, covering her mouth with her hand. Selena asks in bewilderment why Aiden decided to save her. Suddenly, maids appear from all sides and ask in horror what happened to the mistress. Looking at her servant, Selena explains that she felt dizzy, but Aiden caught her in time. In her room, the Duchess notices that when the young man saved her, he used magic. Instead of answering, Aiden calls the maids to help the mistress clean up, and he runs away. The young man himself does not understand why he saved Selena, because she has always lived indulging her whims. The lady did nothing but mock and humiliate the guy, but he never really wanted to kill her. At a desperate moment in his life, the girl gave the boy a helping hand, and he can never forget this, no matter what. Aiden runs into the mistress's room with the intention of telling her all his thoughts. At that moment, Lucas enters the room and says that he must escort the lady because the ceremony is about to begin. The Lord notices that Selena's hair is disheveled and tells Aiden to call the maids. Lucas notices with suspicion that something is happening between the servant and the mistress. Guests continue to arrive. The orchestra plays wonderful music, and the tables are laden with treats. Lucas leads Selena to the table where the family is sitting and invites the Duchess to sit down. The head butler announces that the newlyweds will now appear before the guests and offers to greet them with applause. The beautiful Aaron and the Holy Virgin Ariel appear before the public, and the guests greet them with loud applause. The young duke notices his sister sitting nearby and happily waves to her. The girl, immersed in her sad thoughts, does not want her brother to smile at her because she is not the same Selina and will soon leave anyway. The trumpets begin to blow, the champagne flows like a river, and the celebration begins. The guests have to stand for a long time during the ceremony. Lucas notices that the Duchess looks tired. The Lord, noticing the girls walking in their direction, notices that Selina will be leaving soon and prefers to disappear. The girl turns her head and sees a crowd of young girls approaching her. One of the young friends joyfully greets the Duchess and says with concern that she heard about her ill health. Selina embarrassedly says that everything is already in order. Thanks for your concern. The girl is perplexed. She heard that the Duchess lost her memory, but now it's like a different person in front of her. Looking at the confused Selina, the girl reminds that she is Vivian Jonas. Their house sells clothes. Suddenly, the girls hear a loud shout and see a bright, showy girl approaching them. Selina remembers that this is the daughter of the Marquises. In the novel, she was the villain and Selina's right hand and played a significant role in shaping the girl's character. The Duchess coldly apologizes to Lady Mia Raspel and says that her memory has not yet returned. Mia confidently says that her memory will certainly return, and the girl will remember that they were best friends. The girl quietly asks Selina whether she really lost her memory or was up to something interesting. The Duchess says with regret that apparently they were really close before, but now she doesn't remember anything and she's embarrassed about it. Mia, horrified, asks not to say that because they used to be like sisters. The Marquise is sure that Selina is evil by nature, and if she creates the right situation, the girl will definitely remember everything. The girl thoughtfully looks around and, noticing Aiden, gestures to him. A servant approaches. The girl notices that they have not seen each other for a long time and asks to bring her a glass of lemonade. Turning around, Mia cheerfully winks at Selina, but the girl does not understand why she is doing this. Aiden hands the Marquise a glass. The girl imperceptibly jerks her hand and lemonade spills on her dress. Mia begins to angrily shout at the servant, saying that he ruined her expensive dress. The young man humbly asks for forgiveness. The girl is furious and declares that the guy was able to live so long only thanks to Selina, so he must do his job flawlessly. Selina, petrified, watches what is happening, unable to utter a word. Mia hits the young man on the shoulder with her fan and orders him to do what he must. Remembering the past antics of the two villains, Aiden realizes that as punishment, he must kneel. Realizing that he has no choice, the young man bends his knee, asking to be forgiven for his mistake. Suddenly, a hand grabs the young man by the shoulder, preventing him from kneeling. Turning around, the guy sees that Mrs. Selina is trying to lift him up. The audience freezes in amazement. Mia cannot believe her eyes. Selina tells Mia that her ears hurt from the girl's foul language. The Duchess says that today is the wedding of her brother, the eldest son of the Howite family, and the Marchioness, for some reason unknown to her, is causing a fuss. Miss Ratchapel tries to justify herself, saying that in this situation she is the victim. The young man spilled lemonade on her dress. Selina calmly says that she saw what happened. Aiden is not to blame for anything. Mia set it all up on purpose. The Duchess offers to listen to the opinions of other ladies if the Marquise insists on her own. Suddenly, all the girls begin to confirm Selina's words. Mia is left all alone. The Marchioness rushes to the Duchess and begs her to remember that Aiden was always just a toy for her. Mia is surprised to note that what Selina is doing now is not at all like her. The Duchess notes with cold indifference that she does not see the need to behave so demonstratively. The girl forcefully pushes the Marquise's hand away and declares that from now on, they are no longer friends. Lucas comes up and politely remarks that the lady does not look very well and they should return to their chambers. Selina admits that she really wanted to attend her brother's wedding, but she was really tired. Lucas politely offers the girl his hand and offers to accompany her. Passing by Aiden, who had been silent all this time, the mistress tells him to go with them. The girl extends her hand to him and asks why he is still standing. The young man looks at his mistress in awe. The way she extended her hand to him reminded him of their first meeting. Aiden understands that no matter what, she will forever remain his mistress, and he will be her faithful servant. Selina reprimands that the young man should not kneel, following someone else's example. Suddenly, the Duchess turns around and publicly declares that Mia's ridiculous and provocative dress makes her look like a tangerine. A moment later, everyone around begins to laugh at the Marquise, who stands completely alone in a rage. The girl angrily cannot believe that the relationship that she so diligently built with the Duchess is collapsing. The Marquis, the girl's father, silently watches this whole scene, standing a little to the side. Mr. Ratchapelle tells his servants that it is time to return home. Marquise Mia will get home herself. At night, Selina once again has a strange dream about the real owner of the body. The girl doesn't understand why Selina is now bursting into tears if she was so cruel before. Selina always screams something in her sleep, but the girl does not hear her voice. Erin asks Selina to wait a little longer, and everything will be over. She put things in order in her life as best she could, but this body cannot calm down. Perhaps only when Erin follows Selina will there be peace for everyone. The girl, exhausted, buries herself in the pillow. These dreams are incredibly exhausting. In the morning, Selina goes out into the garden and is surprised to notice that summer is coming, and when she appeared here, it was spring. Lord Lucas announces that if the lady has completed her preparations, they can leave. She notices with alarm that the girl is very pale. Selina explains this as a bad dream at night. The maid and Aiden are wondering if they really don't need to accompany their mistress on the trip. Selina remembers that thanks to her worried parents, it was decided that Lucas would go with her. Aiden is upset that he cannot go with his mistress and asks her to take care of herself. Lucas approaches the young man and asks him to tell the Dukes that he and the lady will be back before it gets dark. Approaching Aiden closely, the Lord says that the young man is like an open book, and if he doesn't want everyone around him to know, then he should control his emotions. Lucas advises the young man to be careful for the sake of his mistress's honor and for his own sake. In the carriage, Selina notices that the knight has a strange expression on his face. It is unclear whether he is having fun or he is not feeling well. Lucas strangely responds that someone irritates him, but his behavior irritates him even more. Selina, deciding not to delve into it, says that everything will work out, and Lucas, no matter what, is still good. Suddenly, a stone falls under the wheel of the carriage. The girl is thrown onto the seat and she hits herself quite noticeably. Lucas once again anxiously asks if everything is okay with the girl. Selina notices that almost every time they meet, the Lord asks this question. The knight answers with a laugh that every time they meet, the girl really doesn't feel well. In the crowd, Selina is completely lost. Lucas presses her to him and asks her to come to her senses. Seeing that the girl is very bad, the man decides to urgently take her to a calmer place. The Duchess gradually comes to her senses and reflects that in a large crowd of strangers, she becomes very ill. Lucas puts a wet handkerchief on Selina's face and says that's why he asks the girl about her well-being every time they meet. The girl tells the Lord that recently he calls her simply by name. He has stopped being respectful to her. Lucas from the novel has always impressed with his ideal manners, but for some reason now he is becoming more and more familiar with Selina. Suddenly, Selina realizes that Lord Lucas is obviously trying to make friends with her. The man is embarrassed, but then admits that why not try to become friends. The Duchess wants to find a quiet place, hidden from human eyes, suitable for her plans. Walking leisurely, the girl notices a tall tower standing a little in the distance. Lucas says that this is the only clock tower in the duchy, but he will not let her go up there. Selina indifferently says that she didn't intend to. She doesn't think about any nonsense anymore. The Lord notes that the girl eats the food of commoners quite often, and it bothers him. The girl thinks that before she had no choice, she ate whatever they gave her. Suddenly, behind the square where young people were walking, shouts of abuse could be heard. Some man yells at the boy for this, that he scratched his carriage and threatened him with a cane. Lucas notices with annoyance that wherever you go, there are showdowns everywhere, and invites the Duchess to leave before even more people gather. The girl does not listen to the Lord. She asks if he will stand up for her if that man swings his cane at her. The knight assures Selina of his protection, but realizing that she is up to something, he tries to stop her. The girl cannot believe that she witnessed such a terrible sight, which reminded her of the past. Selina remembers her first meeting with Aiden and realizes that she simply cannot stay away. Before the Duchess's eyes stands such a proud but defenseless young man. Selina comes to the boy's defense and urges the man to stop. The coachman sharply asks who she is and demands that she mind her own business. Suddenly, Lucas approaches the coachman and advises him to watch his language. The man, having assessed the appearance of the young people, understands that they are aristocrats in front of him and makes the excuse that he simply wanted to teach a lesson. The coachman says that aristocrats must punish mistakes, otherwise what will happen to the morality of society? People standing around begin to whisper that the coachman himself drove at great speed and almost hit the boy. Suddenly, Selina, who had been silent all this time, snatches the cane from the man's hands. In a rage, the girl hits the cane with her knee with all her might and breaks it in half. No one expected such a reaction from the Duchess. The coachman and Lucas watch her actions in amazement. Suddenly, the man furiously attacks the girl, shouts that Selina is an obscene girl and cannot be an aristocrat, and threatens to call the guards. The girl calmly agrees and says that she will tell the guards that the man hit her on the knees with a cane. The Duchess explains that the coachman also wanted to shift the blame onto the boy, and she will simply do the same to him. Suddenly, Sir Lucas begins to laugh uncontrollably, so hard that tears come to his eyes. People standing around begin to be indignant. The coachman drove like crazy, almost hit a child, and everyone saw it. The people shout that they will side with Selina and confirm her words to the guards. The Lord, wiping away his tears, ironically asks the coachman if he will call the guards. The man is afraid to contact Lucas, says that he has urgent matters and is in a hurry to get away from them. Selina sits down in front of the boy and gently says that this world is full of strange people and you need to be careful. The Lord who approaches declares that the girl herself is the strangest at the moment. It's time for them to leave. The young people walk along the pavement, and Lucas notices that the Duchess's skirt is torn, and she is noticeably limping. The knight carefully asks if the lady's knee hurts, and notes that she shouldn't have done that. The girl admits that initially she did not intend to break the cane, but then she became distracted and could no longer stop. The girl asks her companion to choose the shortest route because she really wants to go home. The man looks at Selina and realizes that they really should hurry up. The girl can barely stand on her feet. Lucas hears a noise behind him and tells Selina that they will go home as soon as he gets rid of the rats. Turning around, Selina notices a crowd of robbers who have clearly decided to profit at the expense of others. The girl is very scared and cannot remember whether something like this happened in the novel or not. Lucas tells the Duchess to stand behind him and promises that he will sort everything out. The Lord hands the robbers a bag of money and says that if this is enough, then they can part ways on good terms. The gang of bandits starts laughing, and one of them declares that money alone will not be enough. Lucas, with gradually simmering anger, asks what else do they need. One of the gang says that he was tasked with catching one very rude girl and teaching her a lesson. Selina immediately understands who she is talking about. The coachman turned out to be an even bigger coward than she thought. The knight also understood who we were talking about, and if the robbers do not value their own skin, then he is also ready to teach a lesson. Lucas draws a huge sword from its sheath and says that no one can take away the lady who is under his protection. Selina looks at the Lord's face when he is not playing, but really serious. He looks completely different. Suddenly, the girl asks not to carry out the massacre. If her parents find out about this, they will again forbid her to leave the house. The Lord, recognizing that the girl was right, tells the bandits that they were extremely lucky, and the lady saved their lives. One of the robbers orders the others to stop shaking with fear and attack. An angry crowd, waving weapons, runs towards the young people. Lucas hugs Selina tightly and asks her not to be afraid of anything, but to hold on to him. The Duchess closes her eyes in fear, and the Lord easily repels all attacks with one hand. With a smug grin, Lucas tells the girl to hug him as tightly as possible and not let go. The robbers get excited and attack the couple with the whole crowd, hoping to take them not by quality, but by quantity. Meanwhile, in the castle, Jane chases the mouse and finally kills him with a blow from a shovel. Aiden hands the maid a bag, tells him to put the mouse in it, and he will take the bag out of the castle. Walking through the garden, the young man looks for a secluded place, hidden from prying eyes. Having laid the unfortunate little mouse on the ground, Aiden wants to test the power of his gift. After some time, the rodent comes to life and turns its head around in confusion. Aiden realizes that he still knows little about healing magic. In the future, He wants to learn to control his powers. But then the young man remembers Lucas's words that he is just a servant who does not know his place. The guy understands that he needs to pull himself together. The mistress should not find out anything about his feelings. Aiden doesn't care what the whole world says about him, but if Selena looks at him with contempt, he won't stand it. Selena frantically grabs the Lord's clothes and thinks that it's not easy to hold on and not disturb him at the same time. The girl notices with surprise that despite the rather intense battle, Lucas didn't even lose his breath. That's what a brilliant knight means. The Lord, holding the Duchess, says that everything is over and you can relax. The man carefully removes the hair from the girl's eyes and asks her to tell him if she feels bad again. Lucas invites Selena to find a quiet place, but at that moment, the last of the bandits attacks the Lord from behind. The knight delivers one lightning strike. He cannot be caught off guard by such a primitive attack. Selena feels very bad and asks Lucas to come back as quickly as possible. The couple does not have time to take even 2 steps before the Duchess's injured leg twists and the girl falls. Lucas rushes to Selena. He is afraid that despite his protection, the girl could have been hurt during the skirmish. Aiden is helping in the garden picking flowers for bouquets and is worried about how it will soon get dark. Hearing the sound of an approaching carriage, the guy rushes as fast as he can towards the driveway. Seeing the carriage arrive, the young man is upset and understands that this is not Selena's carriage. He wonders who it was that arrived. A very respectable-looking man emerges from the carriage with a servant at his back. Aiden looks at the guest with surprise. The silver brooch, the indigo-colored clothes, it all seems very familiar to him. One of the lackeys tells the young man that a magician has come to their castle, and it seems that he is from the Imperial Magic Department. The butler greets Monsieur Allogène and informs him that the Duke is expecting him. Passing by the servants, the man glances at them briefly and notices a magical glow around one of them. The footman tells Aiden that every year people come to the castle to introduce new magical technologies. But this is the first time the magician himself comes. Mr. Logan walks down the corridor and thinks about the interesting young man he noticed. The guy must have already noticed his potential. Lucas says with surprise that the Duchess broke her cane a long time ago, and her leg started hurting only now. Selena answers with embarrassment that she not only broke her cane, but also her knee. Suddenly, the Duchess decides to assess the extent of the injury and lifts her skirt above her knee. Lucas is horrified and shouts that Selena is an aristocrat. Such behavior is simply unacceptable. The girl calmly asks not to pay attention. She just needed to assess the condition of her knee. The girl's knee was very swollen and had a huge red and blue bruise. Lucas sees that the knee looks terrible. It should have already started to hurt, which means the girl has been in pain all this time. Suddenly, a pleasant voice is heard next to the young people, asking for forgiveness for disturbing them. The young man says he heard about the girl's injury and thought he could help. Selena looks at the young man with interest. He is so pale and gloomy that he looks like a vampire. The young man introduces himself and says that his name is Ian, and he is a priest. Unexpectedly, Selena declares that if the priest can help her, then she will be grateful to him. The young man puts his hands on the girl's injured knee and begins to cast spells. A mysterious magical light appears from under the priest's palms. A few minutes later, the young man removes his hands from the Duchess's legs. Not a trace remains of the bruise. The young people are so stunned by what they see that they cannot utter a word. They examine the girl's knee. Sitting in the carriage, Selena remembers the words of the priest when they talked after his treatment. Yang saw how the girl stood up for the child. He said that her determination to protect the weak, her kindness directed him towards further education. Lucas watches Selena thoughtfully. He doesn't understand why the girl has changed so much, because before everyone called her an indifferent monster. Now the Duchess apologizes for her mistakes and thinks about the feelings of other people. Now the girl is helping the weak. How can a person change so much in an instant? The Lord thinks that another soul has moved into the girl. Otherwise, he cannot explain all these changes. But the most disturbing change is that Selena always has a completely blank stare. Noticing how the girl is looking intently at the clock tower, Lucas is struck by the realization that Selena wants to die. The Lord looks thoughtfully out the window and decides to do everything in his power, but not let Selena die. At night, Aiden turns from side to side and cannot fall asleep. The young man is overcome by disturbing thoughts. The young man remembers that the magician's emblem is a silver brooch, and their uniform is indigo color. The magicians of the empire have undeniable respect among the people. They are called lords and are considered real aristocrats. The guy thinks about what they would say about someone like him. They probably have a different attitude towards commoners. Aiden looks out the window, notices the moon in the sky, and thinks that the strength of mana depends on its phase. The young man desperately does not understand where and why he received this magical power. Even decades later, Lucas cannot forget that terrible sunset. The Lord grew up in an ordinary but very happy family with caring parents. The boy loved his mother very much, but unfortunately she was very sick. Lucas grew up in a family of fallen aristocrats. His father hid his status and left for work every day at dawn. The boy endured it, no matter how cold he was or how hungry he was. The only thing Lucas dreamed about was that his mother would not die of illness and leave him alone. Mom took him to her bed and promised to try to get better. The boy quickly learned what the world really was like. He learned that his family was impoverished because his aunt stole all their property. If Lucas's family had money, his mother could have been cured. The boy's father volunteered to join the monster fighting squad led by his uncle Hunter. The boy's mother tried to dissuade her husband from such a dangerous service, but the man explained that if he went to the battlefield, the count would help with the costs of treatment. The father promises his son that he will definitely return soon, and the boy must look after his mother. But 3 months later, no one began to help with treatment. The boy, in desperation, knocked on the door to his aunt, asking for help. Opening the door slightly, the aunt threw Lucas a bag of money and threatened to break his hands if he knocked on their door once. The boy, with tears in his eyes, collected the pitiful coins and tried not to think about what he would do next. Suddenly, Lucas realizes that the sun is already setting, and he still needs to get to the hospital in time. But at the hospital, they slammed the doors on the boy, saying that he did not have enough money. Lucas, with difficulty moving his feet, comes to the house, thinking that no one wants to help them, but he simply has to do at least something. Going to see his mother, the boy realizes that without medication, she has become completely weak and cannot even speak. Suddenly, the boy's mother begins to cough up blood violently, and after a few moments becomes silent forever. Lucas, in horror, persuades his mother to wake up and not leave him alone, because he is very scared. Having somehow buried his mother, the boy sat motionless at her bedside for several days. A few days later, the door opened and the father came into the room. The boy rushed into his arms with relief. After sobbing for several hours on his father's shoulder, the boy wants to take his hand, but realizes that instead of a limb, his father has an empty sleeve. It was from that day that Lucas decided that no matter what, he would survive in this fucking world. Duke Hawait became a reliable support for the boy in gratitude for the fact that Lucas's father sacrificed his hand to save his life. Lucas no longer trusted people and began to hide behind a mask to protect himself from this cruel world. But only the Hawait family could a man swear allegiance with all his heart. Aaron comes into Lucas's room with a bottle of wine and says that he couldn't pass by when he saw the light in his chambers. Laughing, Aaron says that it is very important to have a friend who is ready to drink with him at any time. Lucas gets up and thoughtfully admits to his friend that he can't stop thinking about Selena. Aaron sadly says that his sister seems carefree, eats, sleeps, walks, but the man can't shake the feeling that she could just disappear. The young Duke admits that he wants to see his sister with her head held high, but has no idea what he can do for this. Lucas approaches his friend, puts his hand on his shoulder, and asks if he knows a priest named Ian. After listening to the story about today's events, Aaron exclaims with enthusiasm that with his help, they will be able to heal the hole in Selena's heart. But Lucas is not so optimistic. It is unclear why people do not know about the priest who has healing powers. Suddenly, the Lord from the balcony notices Aiden standing in the garden, silently looking at the moon. Lucas thinks about the fact that insomnia attacked the people in the mansion that night. Noticing Lucas's gaze, Aiden bows respectfully. The knight, trying to catch up with the departing Eden, deftly jumps from the balcony into the garden. Lucas tells the servant that he and Aaron will be leaving for a few days and orders the young man to make sure nothing happens to his mistress. Aiden assures that the Lord has nothing to worry about. He, as a servant of his mistress, always thinks about her safety. Sir Lucas says with a grin that lately he often gets to know the young man from an unexpected side. Grabbing the servant by the hand, the knight threateningly says that if the lady wants to go somewhere, the young man is obliged to stop her. Lucas adds that it is better not to let the Duchess go anywhere under any circumstances, especially not to let her near the clock tower. Aidan forcefully pulls his hand away and assures him that he understands everything. The next morning, Aaron says goodbye to his sister and asks her to take care of her health. Selina thinks with sadness that she is seeing her brother for the last time, who will sincerely love her to the end. The sister gently takes her brother by the hands, trying so that he does not notice her true feelings, does not notice that she is truly saying goodbye. Suddenly, Lucas brazenly grabs Selina's hand and tells her that it's time for them to leave. The girl asks the man to look after her brother and silently says goodbye to the lord. Suddenly, Aaron, overwhelmed by some incomprehensible emotions, breaks the handshake of the young people. The man grabs Lucas by the arm, drags him towards the carriage, and declares that it is high time for them to leave. Lord Lucas looks menacingly at Aidan, hoping that the young man will keep all his knightly promises. In the carriage, Aaron explodes, reprimanding that even he, as a brother, does not dare to take Selina's hands so brazenly. Lucas laughs, understanding his friend's feelings, but says that sooner or later there will still come a time when his sister will be held by someone else's hands. Thoughtfully, the Lord reports that it is quite possible that it will be him. While trying to bait Aaron, Lucas notices that whoever this lucky guy is has a steep barrier ahead of him. Before Selina lost her memory, she really liked Lord Lucas. But at that time, the girl was not at all interesting to the man himself. The way Selina changed after the tragedy somehow influenced Lucas and made him change his opinion about her. Aaron seriously says that although he is ready to give his life for his adopted brother, he will not give Selina to him. The young duke knows the anger and loneliness tearing Lucas apart from the inside, and Selina needs a calm man who will make her smile. Lucas himself also needs a girl who can heal his emotional wounds. Sitting at the table, Selina sorts through the mountain of invitations received after her brother's wedding. Lady Jonas sent an invitation to an evening in the rose garden. The girl asks Aidan in bewilderment what it is. The young man explains that this is a tea party that takes place in the summer, just in time for the rose blooming season. Selina says thoughtfully that it sounds quite interesting. After a while, the Duchess announces to Aidan, who has come in, that the two of them are going to the Evening of Roses.